Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary with the Get Some podcast. And my guest this week is...
This motherfucker Gary.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary Owen with the Get Some podcast. We'll start off with my schedule. This weekend, I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, at the T-Mobile Center with Cedric, the Entertainer, D.L. Hughley, Eddie Griffin, Felipe Esparza. So we'll be there Friday. Saturday and Sunday, December 2nd and 3rd, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Atlanta Comedy Theater. Next weekend, December 8th through the 10th, I'll be on West Nyack at Levity Live. December 21st through the 23rd, I'm in Denver, Colorado at the Improv. And then December 29th, I'm in San Antonio at the Tobin Center. And December 30th and 31st, as always, ending the year in Dallas, Texas at the Texas Trust Theater. I think this is the 8th. Well, it's actually the 7th. It's the 8th year. It's the 7th. We didn't do COVID. In 2020, we did New Year's Eve, but we did every other year. And then I'm in Ontario, California, January 5th through the 7th at the Improv. Now, last weekend I was in Naples, Florida at Captain Brian. So thanks, everybody that came out in Naples. We had a great weekend. That city is old, super old, and it's super white, but black people come to see me, and it's not a ton, but they're out there. It's fun. I remember one time I went to West Nyack. Here's a couple, not West Nyack, I'm sorry, a couple funny Captain Brian off the hook stories that I probably should have told last week when I was coming there, but now that I left, it's funny. There's been a couple things that happened at that club that is so interesting to me. Like one time, the first time I ever went, I brought my opener, who's my opener a lot these days, T-Robe out of Pittsburgh. And this is one of the reasons I didn't use T-Robe for a lot of years. And T-Robe's always been a great friend. He's a great guy. But I couldn't use him on the road for probably 8 or 9 years because I didn't trust him to do his time. And it all came from Captain Brian's Off the Hook Comedy Club because he went there, right? So we were doing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And you honestly, most comics, you got to be mentally prepared for this club because it's a lot older and it's a lot wider. I always say you're not going to build your fan base there because they're going to be dead. So I always say I feel like I'm in the movie Cocoon when I'm there. It's if you got like I would say if you got a year to live, move to Naples, Florida. You'll make it. It's where old people go to get older. And so with that being said, you got to be mentally prepared because you're not going to get the laughs you're used to getting at a normal comedy club. Like physically, these people can't laugh, and it's a lot tamer, calmer audience, I should say. It's wider and older. And so T-Robe goes up Thursday. He's supposed to do 30 minutes, a two-man show. Does 30 minutes Thursday, and he's like, whoa, I didn't get a good reaction. Friday, T-Robe goes up, does about 25. He's doing a little less Friday. Saturday, he goes up, does a little less than 20, about 18. By the time Sunday show got there, he did 7 minutes because he was used to getting this reaction. He wasn't getting the laughs, and he kind of like, well, screw it. I'm going to keep cutting down. And I'll never forget, Captain Brian's, it used to be just a seafood restaurant, and he brought in comics. And now it's more of a comedy club with a great restaurant. But it used to be a great restauant that just brought in comics. So I just remember that last Sunday, I just ordered a lobster bisque. And it came, and I thought I had 23 more minutes to finish it. And I took that first spoon, and he goes, give it up for Gary Owen. I said, really? And then I walked on stage, and as we're crossing, I looked at him and said, hey, man, you did 7 minutes. He's like, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. And I go, the clock's right there. It literally says 7:37. And then, so we remained cool, and I didn't say nothing to him. And years later, when he became like my opener for a lot of cities, it's at that point, years later, I told him, I said, hey, man, there's a reason I didn't use you for all those years. And I was like, it's because of Naples. It used to be in Marco Island. Now it's in Naples, Florida. I said, I just didn't trust you to do your time. And that's big. You got to do your time to open up for somebody. It's our little bit of downtime as headliners. And he goes, really? And now it's funny. We laugh about it because he's like, yeah, I can see that. So the other funny story is one time probably about 10 years ago, I was at Marco Island this was when it was still in Marco Island. It's Sunday night. The club, it's a smaller club. If it held 200, we had about 150. It wasn't sold out, but we had a good crowd that night. And my opener at the time, he was going up, and the old comedy club didn't really have a dressing room. You just sat in the back of the room. So you could see what was happening. And there was a group of Italian people, and they were really rowdy. And my opener at the time wasn't handling it like he should. You got to shut them down. You can't get them all riled up and then bring me up, so I got to deal with it. So they were completely interrupting his act. He was throwing, I could tell. He did his time, but then he remember at the end of it, he goes, hey, y'all, I like y'all. I fucks with you. I'm going to do shots with you after the show. And I was like, no. You don't do shots with him after the show. You tell him, shut up, and bring up the headliner. So he's trying to do shots during the show. While I'm on stage, I see my opener shotting up with these Italian people. The room's so small, they're interrupting my show. Now they're really interrupting my show. They're not paying attention to me. So I go in on them. I wish I would have videotaped this night. So I go in on them, and one of the ladies with the party, and I'm talking, it was probably 20 people in this party. I said, hey, you guys need to shut up or you're going to get kicked out. Something to that extent. And she was like, she literally stood up. She goes, well, if you would say something funny, we wouldn't be talking, right? And I remember this one black girl in the back goes, if you don't, what'd she say? Sit the fuck down, bitch. And she went, right? What? I guess she didn't realize. I was like, oh, okay, you're going to learn. The black people are here with me. They're not random. They paid to see me. So anyways, I ended up kicking the whole party out, all 20 of them. And I told them, this is going to happen right now. You're getting kicked out. You're going to get your bill. You're going to pay it because you did eat food and you drank drinks. I said, you're not getting comped anything. You completely interrupted and ruined the show. I was like, you're going to leave. You're going to want your money back from the show. You're not getting it back. I'm on a door deal. So you guys paid me. I'm not giving you your money back because you've ruined this experience for these other people. So they ended up cussing. It got a little rowdy for a minute. But in the end, they paid their bill. They didn't get their money back for the comedy show. They tried to complain. Then they tried to call the cops. So the way the old Captain Brian's was, they had a big window in the back of the stage. And it was open air. You're kind of on the beach a little bit. So they stayed outside of the comedy club, and we could still see them standing out there. And they tried to call the cops. So the cop showed up, and he looked a little confused. He's like, what's going on? So I literally had the microphone. I looked outside and went to that back window and said, hey, you can't call the cops for somebody talking. And then they waited until the show was over. And now that the show's over, the manager was like, you want to go through the back, Gary? He said, they're still out there. I said, no, I want to go right out through the front. I still had security with me and everything. So now we're walking right through the middle of all these people, but I got security with me. So they're not going to do anything. They might have tried something if the security guys wasn't there with me, but I got security guys with me. So the one guy runs up to the opener, sticks his hand out. My opener shakes his hand. He goes, hey, you were funny, and shook his hand. And my opener shook his hand, and now we're walking towards our car. I looked at my opener. I said, what the fuck was that? He goes, what? I go, why would you shake his hand? I go, he just interrupted and ruined the show. It's like you sided with him. He goes, nah, B, nah. He goes, look, I grabbed his hand to make sure he couldn't do anything. That's why I shook his hand and grabbed it. I was like, okay, that sounds good, but you're full of shit. So those are the two stories I remember about Captain Brian's Off the Hook Comedy Club. But we had a great time this weekend. No issues. It was awesome. So as you can see, I'm wearing Bengal gear. I don't abandon my squad when times are down. At this point, making the playoffs will be a success without Joe Burrow. If somehow we could win enough games to get into the playoffs, that's a successful season. What I don't want to do, what I hope, is we don't end the season on some 8-9 game losing streak and then guys just quit, and it just doesn't make it fun to watch. As long as you're still mathematically alive, you can go on a run. I mean, look at the Broncos right now. They're the hottest team in the NFL. And 5 weeks ago, we thought they were done, especially after they gave up that 70 spot to the Dolphins. But at this point, I heard what Jamar Chase said. It just hit me like, I don't think Jamar Chase has ever lost. He didn't lose at LSU like this. Hasn't lost in the pros. So to lose 3 in a row is new to him. I don't want to see him lose 4. And we're playing Jacksonville on Monday night. That's gonna be a tough one. But if somehow we could find a way to just string up enough wins to sneak into the playoffs, it'll be an amazing accomplishment this year now that Burrow's down. And the schedule looks tough. Let's see. I usually know it by heart, but I know we got the Jaguars this week. Hold on, let me see who else. Where's the schedule at? Later schedule. Okay, here we go. Come on. Load up. All right. We got Jacksonville. Then we got the Colts on December 10th. We could take that one. Then we got Minnesota. We could take that one. Then we got at Pittsburgh. We could take that one. And we just played them. And then we got at Kansas City. That's going to be a little rough. And then we got Cleveland. Like, there's winnable games here. Like, I'm just looking at it, and Colts and Vikings are very winnable. I don't think we want to go 0-6 in the division. So between Pittsburgh and Cleveland, let's hope we can pull one out. It doesn't look promising against the Chiefs and the Jaguars. Here's the thing. If we beat the Jaguars, we're going into Indy, or Indy's coming here, and we got a lot of confidence now. And if we can string together that, and then we definitely got the talent to beat the Vikings, no matter who their quarterback is. I mean, you're looking 6, 7. That's 8-6 going into the last 3 games. And if they lose at Jacksonville, we still could win win 2 in a row against Indy and Minneapolis, and that puts us at 7-7 going in the last 3 games. And I think 10-7 gets you in the playoffs. So we'll see. I mean, it's a long shot, but stranger things have happened. And I'm not giving up on my squad at all. Never give up on them, baby. So if you want to jump off the bandwagon, go ahead. I'm staying on it. I'm never getting off that wagon. I guess in the news this week, there's a couple things. I don't know what's going on with all these sexual harassment cases, but it was like one day, Jamie Foxx, and it was like Diddy had about 3,000 people accuse him. Who else? Marcellus Wiley. Like, it was just like 8 or 9 in one day. And I don't know, something going on in New York. I don't know what's going on, but it was just like, And then I'll get into that in a minute. And then I saw T.I. and his son King get in that argument at the Atlanta Falcons game. And that's one that hurt my heart. That hurt my heart because, I've talked the last couple weeks about me and my son's strained relationship, and it's not really getting any better. I'm not going to get into it, but it's not really getting any better right now. And I thought when I made the post about him a couple weeks ago, I thought it was a good thing. I thought it was just a good thing. I was telling him I was proud of him, everything. And then I don't know. I'll just keep that between us. But it hasn't been a great couple weeks. Our text correspondence back and forth for whatever reason. But when I saw T.I. and his son King, it really resonated with me. It reminded me of what I'm going through with my son, just more in private than in public. But I think when T.I. when I really watched the video of T.I. and his son, and T.I., if you know T.I., he's just a great dude, solid individual. Wife's cool chick too. I don't know her that well, but she's cool. But it's just like, I remember I was watching T.D. Jakes, and there was a clip of him, and he was talking about how, as a father and a man, it's impossible to be everything that, quote unquote, the internet and society is trying to tell you you need to be. Like, you can't be at home all the time. If you want to give your family the life and the lifestyle that you've always dreamed of, you're going to have to work. You're going to have to be gone. And if you're gone, that means you can't be present all the time. Because if you're present all the time, you're not working. And you can't emotionally be there all the time. It's honestly, as a dad, it's like, it's tough. It's no win sometimes. And he said, when dads bust their ass and they create this amazing life for their family, that's their normal. And a lot of times the family doesn't realize that your dad's miracle is now your children's normal. So when you're saying to them, you don't know what tough is, we sometimes you got to put yourself in the children's shoes and say, okay, what they're going through is what is normal to them. And granted, like T, I'm sure his childhood was much tougher than King's. I know my childhood was much tougher than my son's. As far as like I had an abusive stepfather, and I have no doubt his childhood was tougher than mine. I've heard stories of what my stepdad had to go through as a kid. And I just went, the problem with my stepdad is he never dealt with his demons. He never dealt with the PTSD he probably went through, with everything he went through. So he took it out on me and took it out on other people. But because my stepdad used to always say to me, you don't know what rough is. You don't know what rough is. And when I hear stories about how he was brought up, I go, yeah, yours was definitely rougher than mine. Not that mine was great, but yours was rougher. And I think that's what happened at that Atlanta Falcons game with T.I. and his son King. It was like his I heard T.I. kind of he was having fun with it at first, and then it got serious. It just went left, and I think King got a little embarrassed, and he wanted, like, he always kept saying, I'm standing on business, and I think he got a little embarrassed by it all. Like, I don't want to be like this privileged guy. I don't want people to think I was born a silver spoon in my mouth, but the disrespect, though, that came in, it was just like, man. And this ain't knock on T.I. or anything. It's a different generations of kids. The things I have heard and has been told to me from my own kids, I was like, whoa, that was a lot. And so I just felt it at my core when I was watching T.I. and his son King go at it. I was like, man. But then it reminded me of the T.D. Jakes thing. It's like, King's normal. He doesn't realize that everything T.I. did to give him a better life, he doesn't have anything to compare it to. King, according to him, this just was his normal, everything. So he doesn't know. So I try to be like, I try to see it from both sides of things when things like that happen. And it just sucked to play it out in public. And I think King got a little embarrassed. And I think T.I. thought it was all in fun. But then he was like, whoa, I don't know. At one point, the King was like, enough bag. I guess King thought he was getting bagged on a little bit. And it's just this, but I saw T.I. make a post today about it's all business. It's always going to be family. He'll die for his and everything. So that was good to see. But I just think I hate it played out in public. And I hate that now it's you got people weighing in and they're either taking T.I. side or King side and everything else. I'm just going, we got to stay kind of neutral and see it from both sides. And let's not fan the flames with it. Let's just kind of be like, okay, I see what T.I. was doing, having fun with his son. His son took it personal because he's like, I don't want to be this silver spoon privileged kid. So I just I try to see it from both sides of things. Yeah, it sucked because I try to tell myself that when I've started to text back and forth with my son since that post came out, really, since he found out I went to his work, and it hasn't been great. It hasn't been like what I thought. It's been bad. And so it just really struck me when I saw that play out. The fact that I go, oh, man, I've been there. I know what that's like. I know what that's like to have your son, what people say was just completely disrespected him. But, you know, when kids don't really know what it's like to struggle, they don't know. They think they know, but they don't know. That's just their normal. So anytime they go through a little adversity, it's like the world is coming in on them. It's like, whoa, I don't know how to deal with this. And so it's tough, man. It's tough as a parent because you want to give your kids everything. You want them to have a great life. You want them a life that you didn't have, and you want them to experience things that you didn't get to experience and get to travel and have nice things. And nothing like seeing their face when you know, on Christmas when you give them gifts and stuff and they're excited, or you get to, you know, take them to a basketball game or a football game and they get to meet people that they wouldn't normally get to meet because of what we do. That's the reward, but at the same time, you don't want to give them too much. You want them to be able to – sometimes you got to give them tough love. And you don't know where that line is sometimes. It gets blurred. And you like – you know, you're trying to say one thing, but you don't want to be an asshole. You don't want to lose your family. You don't want to lose your son over it. But you're also like trying to get him to open his eyes like, look, it's time for you to grow up and do for yourself. So, yeah, I don't know what the answer is, honestly. I don't know what the answer is this one. I'm just trying to be like, acknowledge I saw it, and I feel for both sides of it. So, getting back to all these sexual harassment cases that I saw this week, it's interesting. Like, there's some people I know, like I know Jamie Foxx pretty well. I know Marcellus Wiley pretty well. I can pretty much say I can vouch for their character. I don't think they would do something like that. Obviously, we don't know people like we know, but I don't think they would do anything like that. I don't know Diddy well enough to even go there with him. I don't know him. But I'll give you a couple stories about me over the course of my 20-plus years doing stand-up. And I'm going to give you a couple stories where it could have gone left, I could have gotten in trouble, or if it ever hit the news, I would have been looking real bad over something that really wasn't. So, first story I remember, when you first start doing stand-up, like, you do a lot of colleges. Colleges is where the money's at in the beginning because you're in there for one night. You could probably do 3-4 colleges in a week. Homecoming's big. The springtime's big for colleges. And at that point, they would pay more than – they probably still do. They pay more than comedy clubs when you're first opening for people and stuff like that. And it's easy money. And you could make 3-4 times the amount you would make at a comedy club at colleges. Normally, when I would do colleges, when you land, students would pick you up. I've had some funny interactions with students. And you got to realize at this time, I'm in my early 20s. So – early to mid 20s. So they're in my age group. That's who I'm hanging out with. And it's usually not like a fresh pickup, but usually like a junior, senior. So you're close in age. So there's a couple stories that were funny. I'll tell you one funny story and then we'll get serious with what could have went left. I remember one time I was in Austin, Texas. There's a university called St. Edward's University. And these two black girls picked me up at the airport in Austin. And we go out to lunch, which is normal. Usually you go out to eat. You find something to eat with whoever picks you up. And they said right before they dropped me off, after I've been hanging with these two girls for like an hour and a half, they said, yeah, our whoever advisor wanted me to tell you that the Brothers from Holy Cross is coming tonight. I said, cool. So I didn't think nothing of it. They picked me up in a couple hours. I go to the show. Show was great. Kids were laughing. I'm thinking that was a successful show. The advisor takes me in his office, and he's got his feet up, and you can tell he's pissed. And I'm going, what is the problem here? He goes, did the girls tell you who was coming to the show tonight? And I go, yeah. Holy Cross? He goes, yeah, you just decided to do a show like that? And I go, what are you talking about? And he goes, you just decided to do a show like you did. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. He goes, we got in a contract here. So I got contracted through a middleman. So the middleman sent me a generic contract. I didn't see all the fine print in the real contract. So it said that if the brothers from Holy Cross come, I will eliminate certain jokes and won't cuss and things like that. I'm thinking black guys. You had 2 black girls pick me up, and they said the brothers from Holy Cross are coming. No, they were brothers like priests. We're coming from Holy Cross. I told the dude, I said, dude, I didn't know they were priests. I thought you meant brothers. Like the basketball team was showing up. And he kind of laughed. And I said, dude, I had no idea. So anyways, I played the show back in my head, and I was wondering why every time I cussed, everyone started laughing really loud. I would just say shit, and the whole crowd was like, ah! And then I was talking to some of the kids afterwards, because usually when I was doing colleges a lot, they would pick you up and take you to eat, and then afterwards you would usually go eat with like whoever brought you. Like the Black Student Union brought me a lot. Like you go out to eat with them. And so now I'm out to eat with the kids that brought me, that decided to bring me, and they're all telling me, they go, man, thank you for that. They go, those dudes are always coming to our shows and messing them up, because when they come, the comedians or whatever, they can't tell all the jokes they want to tell. And they go, so when you were just cussing, they were sitting there, the kids was eating up because the priest looked so uncomfortable. And I don't know if I'm sure I told some nasty jokes, but I'm just shit, ass, fuck, whatever, tit. You know, every time I said a cuss word, the kids would lose it. And I was like, oh, and I told the guy, I said, listen, you can't have 2 black girls pick comedians up and at the last minute say the brothers are coming over from Holy Cross. Because every comedian's going to think like black guys are coming, not priests. So he kind of gave me a half grin. And luckily, I was getting paid through the middleman. So the university was paying the middleman was paying me. So my check came from the middleman. So he didn't want to give me the check, but at that point, I didn't really care because my issue was with the middleman. So I ended up getting all my money from the show. I don't know how it played out with the middle guy, but I even called the promoter, and I told him, I said, hey, man, you got to call the school. I don't know what's going on right now. I was like, but when you sign these contracts, you got to let us know. Are we allowed to cuss or we're not? And then he just said, oh, it happened. Not a big deal. But I thought that was funny that the black girls picked me up. I just remember I looked back and they go, oh, yeah, Gary. The brothers from Holy Cross are coming tonight. We're supposed to tell you. Okay. I had no idea. So, so that's what happened. So there was another incident where I was at Virginia Tech, and this girl picked me up, took me to lunch like normal, and then after the show, we all went to some restaurant, but it was a bar too. And the girl was just like most college bars. It was like she was just drinking like a fish. And granted, I shouldn't have probably got in the car and had her drive since she was drinking and I saw her drinking. But, you know, when you're 24, 25, you ain't thinking about that shit, really. She takes me back to the hotel. And the hotel had no it had no lobby. It's just one of them, you're at the door and you walk in your room. Basically, every hotel you see on the first 48. That's the kind of hotel it was. And so the girl dropped me off, and I was like, you all right? And I could tell she was a little tipsy. And she was just like, yeah, just a little tipsy or whatever. So then she was like, can I use your restroom? And I was like, all right. She came and used the restroom. And then I had 2 beds in my room. She just plopped on the other bed. And I go, what are you doing? And she goes, I'm sorry, I'm just dizzy. The room's spinning. Da-da-da-da. I was like, okay. So she ended up staying there for like 30 to 45 minutes, I'm guessing. And then I said, you want me to call somebody? Call you a cab or anything to get you home or anything? And she was like, she goes, no, I'm fine. And granted, I shouldn't let her get back in the car and drive. I messed up on that part. But she ended up leaving. She was talking, coherent. Everything seemed fine. And she hadn't drank in over an hour. So, you know, and it was a white girl, and I'm not really into white girls, so I know people are gonna watch it and be like, "Come on, Gary, you smashed." I didn't. Now, if it would have been a black girl, I don't know what would have happened, but it was a white girl. So I get a call like 4 or 5 days later from my agent, He was like, Gary, can you talk? Yeah. And he was like, I'm just letting you know, be very careful with how you're acting with the students when you're doing these colleges. And I go, what do you mean? And he told me that the advisor of Virginia Tech had said that the girl said she didn't remember much from the night, but she remembers she was in my room and she woke up in my room. And I said, what? What's she trying to say? And I called the girl, I called the advisor, because I had the advisor in my head, the girl. I didn't call the girl, I called the advisor. I got the phone with my agent. I was pissed because I was like, damn, I thought I did everything right as far as like being respectful, make sure she was good. She stayed 34 or 5 minutes, stuff like that. I just thought, man. And then for her to like say, I feel like something might have happened, or I woke up and I know I was in his room. I don't remember much, but I know I was in his room. I was like, what? Like, you asked to use the bathroom. And it's not like we went through a lobby and had to go upstairs. Like, the car literally parked right in front of my room. And I was on the first floor and she just walked in to use the bathroom. And so it bothered me. So I called the advisor and I said, yo, I have a real issue with, I don't even like where this is going. I said, so if you plan on making a move, do it. I said, because I didn't touch her. I'm becoming a forensic scientist on this one. I was like, I got no DNA on her, no DNA in her. I was like, we can do any kind of test you want to take. I was like, lie detector, all that. And then it just went away. But I just thought it was odd that, I don't know what she was trying to get at, but I mean, she was implying like we might have did something, which we didn't. And it just completely went away. Nobody ever heard of it. The advisor never called me back. It was like my agent called, said, just be careful how you're interacting in the future. He didn't say something's going to happen. But then I just took it upon myself to call the advisor and try to nip it in the bud and try to really like, yo, this is not okay. So that was one story. But can you imagine if she would have went forward with that? My name would have been out there as like, oh my God, Gary tried to touch somebody at Virginia Tech. I was like, so it just goes to show you never know. And then the other story I want to tell you. This is in college, but this is really where I saw my career like, oh shit, this could really mess me up. This was in like 2010, I believe. Yeah, I flew to Tokyo. I had chosen Tokyo, and on the way back from Tokyo, I was in Columbus the next week, so I flew straight from Tokyo to Columbus, and I had I was at the Funny Bone. And I was on this like deep tissue massage kick at this point. You get in these kicks as a comedian, like diets or just different things. So I was getting like deep tissue massages like once a month at one point. And so I'm coming off this long flight from Tokyo. I had a layover in Detroit, and I called my buddy and I said, hey man, I landed like 8:30. I'm sure there's not a spa open. I said, but I was tight and stuff. And I was like, can you see if you can find a spa that stays open till like has 9 o'clock appointments, or if not, anything else? I think I just said spa. My buddy said, I'll call you back. Calls you back. He goes, I didn't find a spa, but I found a masseuse that'll come to you, and it's $100 for the hour. And I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, let's do it. Gave me the number. I texted. Girl texted me back. Cool. Landed. Texted her. I got to the hotel about 9:30, and she texted me back, I'll be there around 10, whatever. So I'm waiting, and I get a knock on the door, and I look through the peephole, and I see the girl's got like a mini skirt and a halter top, but she ain't got no table. And I'm going, what the fuck? So I don't answer the door. She starts knocking again. She's pounding now. I'm like, what's this girl's problem? And then she starts yelling, I know you're in there. I can see your shadow. I can hear you. I was like, what the fuck is going on? The fuck chick called the cops and put them on speaker and was like, in no certain words, I'm a call girl. I'm here, and he's not answering the door. And I could hear the operator on the line going, what do you want us to do about it? She goes, I don't know. You can't come embarrass them or arrest them or something. And it's just sounded so fishy. And so they said, all right, we'll send a unit. I go, you got to be shitting me right now. So my stomach's dropping. So I answered the door. Now I open my door. And I'm opening my door to cuss her out. Like, what the fuck you doing? When I opened my door, she ran in my room. I went, you got to be shitting me. So she ran in the room. She sits down on the edge of my bed. And now I'm like, okay, I used to be a cop in the military. Don't close that door. That's all I kept telling myself. You are not alone with her ever. So I got my door open. I'm literally on my door open in the hallway of this hotel, and me and her talking back and forth. And she's sitting on my bed. And she goes, I just need my motherfucking money. I need my motherfucking money. And I'm going, what is wrong with you? And she was so ugly. Oh, God. She was like low end. Cop shows up. Now the cop comes up, sounds fishy. He goes, what's going on here? And now I sound horrible. I sound like one of them guys on I don't know, First 48 when you know they're lying. I'm going, man, I'm at the Funny Bone this weekend. I just landed. I wanted a massage. I didn't realize this was who I was calling. I was showing them my text message back and forth with her. At no point does it say pussy fucking. And then she's telling her story. I just want my money. Da, 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 da. So the cop just went. Cop was being cool. Young guy by himself. He was like, all right, this sucks. He goes, okay. Two things can happen right now. He was like, he goes, first of all, nobody's getting arrested here. He goes, I can take a statement from both of you. And he looked at me. He goes, then it's on record. He goes, or he was like, what'd you say it was? And she goes, $100. He goes, give it $100. I'm going to walk her to her car, and we're all going home tonight. And then he looked at her. He goes, you good with that? And she goes, I just want my motherfucking money. I was like, what the fuck? So I give him the $100, right? I could see him walking her to her car from my window of the hotel. So that's it. Take off. It's over with. And that cop didn't have to do that. He could have really been like by the book. But I think it was a new guy. He just wanted to go away. So initially, I'm pissed. I'm like, motherfucker, $100? And I was doing all right, but I wasn't making money like I am now. So I was like, that $100 went a little, I needed it back then more than I do now, basically. So I was just like, man, the fuck? And I'm all mad and stuff. And then reality kicked in. Then I started shaking uncontrollably. I was like, oh my God. Just the gravity of what this could have been hit me. It could have been I got busted with a hooker and I didn't pay her something. I don't know what the story could have been, but I mean, it could have got, I don't know, could have got ugly. And I don't know if it would have been the way the cop said it, it'll be on record if we take a statement. He just gave me a side eye like, or we can just make this go away, bro. And then it just hit me. And I remember I was just shaking. And I woke up the next morning. I didn't really sleep that night. I woke up the next morning. I had to do press. I'm doing radio and TV and just like zoned out, like still thinking about the night before, like, wow. Then I called my buddy. I said, hey man, what the fuck what number did you give me last night? He goes, you said you wanted a masseuse. I was looking up massages. I go, where'd you look? He goes, Craigslist. I was like, motherfucker, those are masseuses. Those are hookers. He was like, I didn't know. I just Googled massages in Columbus and Craigslist popped up. And I was like, dude. But he didn't know. Suburbs, married, kids. My buddy, he didn't know. He was out the loop. He was out the hooker loop. I was like, oh my God. I just remember I laughed about it. And I'm just like, whew. But that's just like, those are two separate instances where if it could have went left and it went in the press, like it could have made me look really bad. And I'm just like, gotta be, but you keep in mind, I've been doing stand-up over 20 some years. And those are probably the only two stories I got where shit could have went left career-wise. And just PR-wise, could have went bad. Yeah. And I could never share those stories when I was married, because what am I going to do? Call my wife and tell her? No. I told her about the Virginia Tech thing. I did tell her about that. I don't think we were married at the time when that happened. We were just dating. But I told her about the Virginia Tech thing. Did not tell her about the Columbus thing. I was like, yeah, I'm going to keep this to myself. How do you even call and explain that? Look, I was trying to get a massage, but it wasn't a masseuse. It was a hooker. She was in my room. We were never alone. The cop came and told me she made her leave, and it cost me $100. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna chalk this one up to the game. That's the way I look at it. I just remember all day, because it was whatever night I came in, whether it was Wednesday night or Thursday night. I just remember all day. That's all I thought about. And I think I switched rooms, just in case. I didn't want nobody coming back to that room. I am 90% positive I switched rooms. I wanted to switch hotels, but I thought that would have been too big of a red flag. But I switched rooms, and I was just like, yo. I might got other stories I'll share randomly in the future, but those are just two that pop into my head where I was just like, oh, my God, what just happened? You just got to be careful. That's all I'm saying. So when I saw all these cases in New York, I think about some of the times I've been in weird situations. It's similar, like, it's funny how people just quick to judge people off stuff. And not just that, but the T.I. and his son. Like, that's the only father-son ever got in an argument and had a disagreement. They just did it in public. And granted, King's spoiled. He's spoiled, but that's all he knows. So in his mind, he's not. That's the thing. Like goes back to TJ things. Like, T.I.'s miracle is King's normal. So, but if you really look at it, he has had a good life. Easy got it. They had the reality show. And T.I. and Tiny, they're good parents, man. They do it. Ain't nobody perfect, but I know their kids are their priority. So, it's just tough. Like, everyone wants to pile on. Like everybody else's life is perfect. It's similar when I made that post a couple weeks ago about my ex, and I said I'm gonna focus on good stories about her. I mean, I'm not gonna be one of those people I don't read comments. Yeah, I don't read them all, but I scroll through them, and if I feel like answering, I will, and if I don't, I don't. But I scroll through, just if I'm on a plane or in the hotel, I just look around, and it's just like, some people are like, you knew you messed up, and da-da-da, and I'm going, I wanted the divorce. Like, we keep forgetting that part. And then it's just like, they're just so negative and so ugly with their comments. And I go, what? I said, that says more about you and your misery. Like, people say, I don't feel sorry for you. I think you realize you lost a good woman by your actions and you deserve it. You're going to reap what you sow. And I'm going, what are you talking about right now? Like, and one was like, I never did like you, especially when you start degrading and putting down your ex. I go, I never have. Show me an interview. And we can't confuse telling the truth with trying to degrade and put somebody down. I remember Randy Moss told me that. I feel like I'm name dropping now, but Randy Moss said, he was telling his kids, I will never, ever put your mother down. He said, but I'm not going to lie about her either. Not everybody's perfect. We all got our flaws. We all got our drawbacks. And sometimes it's hard to hear the truth about yourself. Me included. Trust. I've heard some things about me, and I was like, yeah, that sucks, but that's the truth about me. And I got to deal with that. Sometimes people don't like hearing the truth about themselves. So, it is what it is. All right, y'all. Listen. This weekend, Kansas City, huge show at the T-Mobile Center. Cedric the Entertainer, D.L. Hughley, myself, Felipe Esparza, Eddie Griffin. It's going to be huge. First time I ever played that arena. And then Atlanta, I'll see you guys Saturday and Sunday. And just so you know, I'm going to the Monday night game against Jacksonville. Me and Lil Duval's had this trip planned since the schedule came out. I thought I was going to be able to talk a lot of shit. We had a big bet. And now I can't talk shit like I want to. I know if the Bengals lose, I got to jump in the pool in Jacksonville after the game. I know that's what I got to do. So I'm already getting prepared to jump in the pool. But If Duval loses, I got to come up with – if Bengals somehow pull out this victory on Monday, I got to come up with something for Duval. Not money, something to embarrass them or something. I'll come up with something for this week's out. But next week, I'll let you know if I had to jump in the pool or not. You're going to know. All right, y'all. See y'all. This is Gary Owen with the Get Some Podcast.